What's going on, family? Hope you guys are doing well here today on this wonderful Thursday. I pray blessings and peace over you, grace and peace to you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in and watching the live today. Just wanted to come to you today with something that I had on my mind. I had been watching a couple of videos and I thought about the topic of people who struggle to grow because of having absent parents in their life. Whether that's you growing up in a single parenthood with your mother, or you growing up with your father, or in some cases, some people grow up with neither their mother or their father, and they live with either grandma or an aunt or something, or someone, right? And we know the effects that that can have on a child, and maybe that child is you, but we also know the next step that we need to do, which is to grow. And sometimes that growth can look very different than what we intended it to look. It's even if some of the growth on the outside appears to be good, on the inside in your heart, you could still be damaged. And that's what I want to talk about, right? Healing from absent parents and what that damage looks like, and then also what growth truly looks like from the inside out and from the outside, right? So if we look at what growth looks like from the outside, growth outside looks like, hey, I didn't have my mother or I didn't have my father, but yet to grow, I'm going to learn how to cook. I'm going to learn how to fold my own clothes. I'm going to learn how to wash and maybe do all of these things that my mom didn't show me. Or if we're talking about absent fathers, because I believe that's what we have mostly in the world is absent fathers, I'm going to learn how to fix things. I'm going to learn how to drive. I'm going to teach myself how to do this and that, right? Hello, George Munez or Nunez. Hello, grace and peace to you. Thank you for joining. So what growth looks like outside, right? Externally, it looks like a lot of doing. Like it looks like you're doing a lot of things to try your best not to be like how your parents were, right? You're doing things. Oh, I'm going to get a better job. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that because I didn't have my father or because I didn't have my mother or those type of things. And so that's what external growth looks like. Here's what's still happening internally, right? Although you're trying to do more, especially if you have children, although you're trying to do more for your children than what was done for you, if it's still not rooted in a place that actually cares for your children, then you're still coming from your own place of lack or your own place of hurt. Well, because I never had more than one pair of shoes, I'm going to go out and buy my son or buy my daughter 20 pair of shoes to make up for what I didn't have. Not because your child wants those shoes or actually even likes the shoes you buy, but it's still rooted in you and not your child. So internally, you still could be carrying some things, not knowing that you're putting those things into the child. Hey, no, I'm buying you 20 pair of shoes because I want you to have what I didn't have, not because you actually want 20 pair of shoes as a child. Well, in that case, now the focus is not on doing for my child in gratitude, right? Or doing for my child to take care of them. The focus is still on me now in the things that I'm still dealing with internally because of what I didn't have. It's very easy to get lost like that. And so that's just one thing internally, right? That you may deal with, that some people may deal with, right? And never heal from. And it's important that We learn how to properly heal when our parents are not in our lives. If you grew up with a single parent or no parents, it's a very sensitive topic. It's a very touchy topic, because even though we may feel like we have grown because we're doing more in our society than what our parents did, and we may be doing more for our children, we still harbor resentment, anger, frustration, abandonment. Some of us still harbor those things in our hearts, especially if you were raised in a very tough environment. You may still harbor resentment towards your parents. Hey, we didn't have like what everybody else had. My childhood didn't turn out like it could have turned out. Maybe there are a lot of secrets within your childhood that your parents just didn't share with you. Or maybe everything was out in the open. Maybe you knew exactly about your mother and your father and what was going on, and you just felt, hey, I didn't get a fair shake as a child. So as you are grown up now, right? It's those type of things that you have to think about in your growth, so that you don't carry over some of those same characteristics further as you get older and into your children, right? Now, I'm not saying everything about your upbringing is bad, right? Unless you really had a very rough life, not everything about your childhood was bad from your parents. Maybe it wasn't great. Maybe, maybe your dad was never there. Maybe your dad was absent, but maybe they have tried to talk. Or maybe you've never seen your father, but you had someone else there that was like a father that tried to help. Maybe. I don't know your situation, right? Same thing with mom. Maybe you didn't have a mom, but you had someone like a mom, someone who cared for you, someone who tried. We're just talking about the effort. Can they replace your biological mother? No. Can they treat you as a mother would treat a child? Yes. Right? And so maybe these are your experiences, right? Where you're just like, I didn't really have a good childhood to live in peace. And so now that I have my own children, or now that I'm grown, I want to do the things that I didn't get a chance to do. Or I want to give to my children the things I didn't get a chance to have. But what you're not doing is healing from the inside. Driving and streaming at the same time? Yep. I got an hour and a half drive to work and home every day. And when I get home, it's family time. When I get to work, that's work time. And so I'm not going to have an excuse of why I can't make content and share with the world what God put on my heart. And so, yeah, I basically can just drive and talk. It's no different than how people talk in the car with someone else is in the car while they're driving, right? So yeah, driving and talking, right? But yeah, think about the healing. Think about the growth. Think about where you need to grow even today. Some there might be some things that you have been putting off that you need to address regarding your relationship with your parents. Maybe there are some topics that you know is going to be difficult to talk about, but you need to talk about them in order for you to have peace in your own heart. Forgiveness, right? In your own heart. Maybe you still are struggling with forgiveness. So what does inward growth look like? Right? Inward, not the outward stuff of doing, but the inward stuff from the heart. What does that look like? That looks like therapy. That looks like deep meditation for forgiveness. It looks like love. It looks like patience, having patience with your parents, right? Sometimes you need to be patient with your parents because maybe you have young parents. Maybe your mom and dad was 16, 15 when you were born. And now that you're older, you're still trying to understand why they still haven't grown up, right? Or whatever the case is, right? Maybe you need patience. Maybe you need understanding, right? Grace. Maybe grace is what you need, right? Healing with grace. Having grace over your parents. You have to understand your parents, your mom and your dad, are still men and women. And maybe you have to come from an understanding of why your dad did what he did, or was where he was as a man. And then the same thing goes for your mom, why she did what she did as a woman, or why she was where she was from a woman's point of view, right? It's very easy to be selfish because we are the children, or because you are the child, and think everything about everything that happened, or how your childhood was, should have been centered around you. It's very easy to think that way and forget that your parents are humans. Your parents fall short just like you fall short. No one probably gave your mother grace like they're giving you grace. No one probably gave your dad grace like they're giving you grace. And maybe you don't think that there's grace to be had because of how you were raised. But maybe grace, maybe you need to heal and have gratitude or grace in your heart. One, that you even still have parents. Some people don't have their parents anymore at all, like they're gone. And it's not always because of something bad. Some people just don't have their parents. And they could have been good people, right? Good husband and wife. Some people's parents were still married, and they could have lost their parents while they were married, right? And maybe there isn't anything there, right? So we have to have some gratitude, in our heart, with regards to healing. Because, like I said, I've noticed that there are a lot of people who may be struggling with healing from absent parents, maybe. And it takes a lot of depth within your heart to realize that, God is still working with people. God is still working with you, and God is still working with your mother and your father. Hey, mama, my mama's on the live. Hey, mama. But yeah, we're talking about parents and healing from absent parents. And again, some folks, like I said, some folks struggle with sometimes insecurities that they may have, and they may cast blame a lot of times on how they were raised, or maybe some things that they had to do in their childhood. For example, you may have some people, you may be one of those people who you had to raise yourself. You had to figure everything out for your house, for your mother, for your father, for everybody, for your sisters. Maybe you had to figure it out. Maybe you had to go to work, um, pay bills, right? Take care of your brothers, your mother, your father, whatever the case is. And so even in that, right, you may harbor some things there to say, hey, I didn't get a chance to just kind of enjoy childhood because I had to work, right? For those of you who maybe you had to work. Either way, the growing piece, now that you are older, happens from within. It doesn't start externally, it starts internally. Some people, they believe that in order for them to grow or heal, it starts externally. I just got to do stuff. Let me buy everything I can buy for my children or my grandchildren. Let me do all that I can as far as doing to somewhat repay, for, maybe the time missed or the things that we didn't get to do and all of that, right? But it doesn't start there. It starts internal. It doesn't start external. There's not enough presents that you can buy your children for Christmas that will heal unforgiveness in your heart towards your father for not being there. There's not enough presents that you can do as a man or as a woman to say, yep, she's gonna have this, this, and that, and it's gonna be the most expensive thing. That doesn't bode well for the children, because above everything, it's not about the presents are cool, and yeah, kids like gifts, but more importantly than a gift, they want their parent to be there, right? That's one. But then not even just there. They want the parent to be there and be loving. Above all, you want your parents to be loving parents. Even if your parents weren't together, which most people, if you grew up in a single parent household, you still yearn to have a loving mother and a loving father that loved you. It's different if you don't have a loving parent that loves you, because they'll show the love, right? May not be together, but you'll know that they both love you. Above all, that's what you want from your parents. So when you don't get that, if you grew up in a household where you didn't get that love, even if your parents were separated or together and you just didn't get that love and they were absent, then that's a scar that you're now trying to navigate on how to heal. And then in those cases, now you're trying to do even externally even more, right? Well, now I got to be at everything, right? I have to be at every sports event that my children have, every single one. I got to be at every award ceremony. And I'm not saying anything wrong with these things. I'm just saying we got to be at every sport event, every award ceremony, everything they have at the school, everything outside of school. We have to do it all. And again, that's not going to heal anything in your heart. And it's also not going to prove anything. Because when it comes down to your children, that's not what they're going to remember. Is that you did all these things that you did. Now, that's not what they're going to remember. What they're going to remember is the love. Right? You can have a parent that can go to every function and still not really love you. I'm going to say that again. You can have a mother and a father that is present at everything and that still treats you like a dog. Just saying. It's possible. So that's the thing that you gotta learn, through when it comes to healing. Is that it starts in here. It starts by letting some stuff go, forgiving, moving on, praying to the Lord. It starts by having the Lord in your heart, asking the Lord to mend some areas that you may need some growth in, mending some areas that you may need some help in, some help from the Lord. That's where it starts. And what God will do is he will give you an understanding, and he will give you a peace to know how to navigate your life now with your parents, if you do still have your parents. Because the one thing that I know for sure is that it's never too late to start over. If you have a desire to start over, it's never too late. Some people like to think it's late, and some people purposefully choose not to try to have a connection or relationship with their parents, mother and father. Some people hold resentment. They blame their parents for years. But it's never too late to start over and have a connection with your mother and father. It's never too late, even if they have been absent most of your life, maybe all of your life. Do you know them? No. You may not know your father. You may not know your mother. Right? But if they have a desire and you have a desire, then I think it would bode well for you to at least know of your biological parents, because your DNA is still from them. Even though your society and your community is what molds you to be the person you are, your character and your tendencies and your DNA is still from your biological parents. Simple and plain. You ever realize how much people are if you do know their parents? How the characteristics and the similarities between their actions being related to their parents? Maybe it's how someone talks, and then you realize they speak in a manner just like their mother, or they speak just like their father, or they make decisions like their mother, or they make decisions like their father, or they eat or have some way of being like their mother or their father. In because you know it, you're just like, oh, that right there is like your dad. Oh, nope, that's like your mom right there. It would benefit you to know of those things. Maybe if you knew your father, or at least knew of your father, then you would have realized that on his side of the family, maybe there was a huge drinking problem. And maybe you would then know, okay, there's something there that maybe I need to be cautious of myself. Or maybe on your mother's side, you realize, oh, okay, my mom's really, really smart, right? Maybe she didn't finish school, but she's really, really smart, especially when it comes to math or English or writing or science, whatever. And you realize, oh, okay, that's why I like math. That's why I like science or animals. So even sometimes animals. Okay, I always wondered why I have an affinity for animals, dogs, cats, whatever. Oh, it's because your mom or your dad, or maybe they grew up with some of these things and it got embedded in their DNA as far as, hey, I'm happy with animals. And maybe that got passed down to you. Just saying, man, it's always good to have some of that knowledge, at least a little bit of the knowledge of your parents, in order to know where you need to heal from and grow. It's important. So, something to think about today, something to at least consider doing for yourself. If you truly want to heal and you truly want to understand some things and why you are the way you are. Maybe you're not the way you are because of other people, but because of you not knowing your family. And because you don't really know your family and how your family is and where everybody come from, maybe that's why you don't know why you cuss so much or smoke so much or drink so much, or maybe are angry all the time, or it could be the opposite. Maybe you didn't never wonder why you so shy, or you don't talk as much, you're very timid, you're very afraid, you don't want to stand up for yourself, or things like that. It could be through your DNA. Either way, if that is you, on either side, you need to learn how to mix and mesh the two, because both of those sides create a balance within you. It makes you more balanced as a person. I myself, I am a mix of my mother and my father. I tell people all the time, it's two sides to me, and they both make up Jimmy Jr., because I'm a junior. My daddy's side, he's very disciplined type of guy. He gonna do a thing a certain way, and he gonna do it that way every time. And he's very smart and strategic with how he thinks about everything. And there's always a plan. And when you don't think that he done thought about it, trust me, he done thought about it. Maybe he didn't take an action on it, but he done thought about it. But knowing my dad and knowing that side of the family, they're very religious people, Christian people, good folk, treating people right, doing by folks well. And the last name, my last name, Scott, carries a lot of of weight when it comes to doing well, treating people well, being good people, and doing well in life, right? And not being in drama and not being in a lot of stuff. And that's my dad's side. Are there characteristics I have from that? Yeah, I do. But then on my mom's side, there's the same thing. But then there's a little bit of difference on my mother's side than there is on my father's side. Because see, when it comes down to my mama and my dad ain't that different, but they kind of different from my upbringing. See, my mama liked to have fun. My mama liked to we like to enjoy. My mother's the is enjoyment of life. I grew up, my mother danced and sang. My mama played the blues. My daddy don't play no blues. He'll listen, but that's not his character or persona. My dad's more reserved. My mama, she gonna get out there. She's extroverted. We gonna play some spades, we gonna talk some trash, and we gonna laugh. My daddy's side, he probably ain't gonna talk no trash. He might play spades, maybe not, but he still gonna have a good time. My mama gonna have a good time. I'm a mix of both. I'm reserved and I can talk trash. I play spades, but I also play chess. you know, ain't that big of a dancer, but I'll try. But I also I go to a musical and sit down and listen to the opera. You know, I like to go outside and I like to be home. I kind of like both. And both of those are, if you look at both sides of my family, at least, you'll see a difference with how my mother's side is and my family, my mom's family, and my dad and his family. And they make up me. And I'm both sides. And so the same thing for you. Your healing will come best in knowing both of those sides. And when you learn how to get that balance, then you really learn how to be the type of person that you really want to be in this life. I realized that I'm not just a person who, honestly, and I had to realize this within myself. I had to learn how to balance with the turn the other cheek piece, right? Because in my heart, although yes, on my father's side, no, we want to treat folks right. Don't really get upset with people. Be nice to folks, even if they treating you a certain way. You still want to, not really get, as my dad would say, you don't want to really get ugly with folks. But on my mama's side, it's only so much my mama gonna take from somebody, for she gonna talk and it's going down. And so for me, there's a balance. At first, I didn't know what that balance was. I felt bad for being humble and, letting people do their thing. But then I also felt bad if I was too far and I'm angry and I'm taking things way out of proportion, in which I should be humble and, let things go. And so I learned how to balance it. So I myself can navigate my own life between personas of DNA from my mother and my father. Some people don't have that. Some people are always one way, right? Maybe you're always angry, and maybe that comes from your father or your mother, and you're just angry all the time, and you haven't learned the balance or, what it looks like of just being at peace. Or maybe you have so much peace to where you get out into the world and you're not speaking up for yourself, or you're not taking care of yourself well, because you don't have that aggression in your life. Maybe you need that aggression that your mother has, and you never put any of that out, right? Again, I'm not saying your upbringing was perfect, but like I said, I'm not saying that everything from your parents was all wrong. There's always meat that you can take from both your mother and your father, that you can take out of what you learn. As they say, you chew the meat and you spit out the bones, right? What's the meat that you should learn so that you can grow from your mother or from your father, right? What's the meat? What's the bones? I'm not saying I take everything my dad says and just, oh, that's the right thing. I'm not also saying I take everything my mother says. It's, you have to know what's good, what's the right way on how you live your life. What is the right way for you? Because it's your turn now, and you're the one that has to live in this world and grow, right? You got to make your choices for yourself, regardless of how your circumstances were. And along the way, as you learn how to make those choices, you learn to grow for your children. Now, am I still a perfect person for my children? I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? But I do my best to balance and have a good sense of my family, so that who I am today, I'm able to teach my daughter the same and even better, right? That's always our goal. We don't want our children to be like us. We want them to be better than us. But in order for your children to be better than you, it starts with you, and it starts with how you heal from your own upbringing. You have to heal, you know? There's some things from my father's, living with my father, that my mother doesn't truly agree with, and in the same, some things from my mother that my father may not truly agree with regards to how I see things. Like, I'll give you an example. My dad's not really a big fan of men wearing pink, but my mama don't care nothing about nobody wearing no pink. But in the same case, right? It could be vice versa. So either way, you choose for yourself. I still gotta either A, I'm gonna wear pink, I'm not gonna wear pink, right? Yep. So yeah, man, just wanted to bring that to you. I appreciate that, mama. Mama says she gonna have my back. I appreciate it. Yeah. So wanted to just bring that to you, in hopes that will help someone, here to truly realize, hey, there's some things in on the inside that I have to grow from. Not necessarily just the stuff that I do on the outside. It's not always the outside, right? It's not always me calling you every day because I didn't talk to my parents every day. Is it good? Yeah, it's cool. Does that change anything to help you grow? No. Does it make you better than your parents because you're doing things your parent didn't do? Not necessarily in the eyes of your children. Who is it really for? Unless it's for yourself. But even for yourself, you could tell yourself, yep, I'm moving past it because I'm doing stuff that they didn't do. Well, not really. Not really. You're not really moving past a lot of the hurts or the traumas, right? Internally, it might be time to talk about it. Not necessarily saying that you need to put your burdens or your frustration or anything like that on your parents, but you're talking about the facts, about what happened or how it was, and things like that. And all right, now here we are today, and then what are we going to do today? Maybe your father was incarcerated, or your mother was incarcerated all your life, or you know maybe they left you, and now you're in a foster home, or an adopted home. Maybe you were adopted, even though your parents. Maybe that's a thing, right? You still gotta at least have a conversation, um, talk it out, get a why, get an understanding, and maybe you'll never know the why, but at least you've had the conversation for yourself, so you can process that piece of your life, and then now that it's processed, move on, right? Move on. And maybe that's what some people never get it. And what happens is they ended up, life goes on, their parents may move along and pass away, and they're always stuck with anger in their heart because of a conversation that they refuse to have because of pride. Oh no, I'm not talking to my father. I ain't talking to that man. I ain't talking to my mama. I ain't. No, they ain't never did nothing, that type of deal. Well, as I always say, somebody got to be the bigger person. Somebody, someone. Why not you? I know you're tired of trying to be the bigger person, but why not you? Someone has to be. Someone got to do it. And if you feel like God is calling you to be the person to call your mother, call your father, and do those things, listen, because it's not be necessarily for you, might be for them, for you, and it might be a healing for you that you just don't get if you don't do it. Might be, never know. So take that, today. I'm going to leave you with some prayer here in hopes that, this has helped you and has been valuable for you, and that hopefully you start growing from the absence of your parents, if you are a parent today, and realize that you have all the capability in the world to be who you choose to be today. But start with healing first on the inside out. So I'll pray. Father, I thank you for those who have joined the call. I thank you for my mother who has joined the call also as well. I thank you for my relationship with my mother and my father, Father. I thank you for allowing me to see the truth, Lord, of my mother and father as man and woman, understanding, Father, that none of us are perfect in this life. Lord, that as we navigate life and as we get older, things, you tend to reveal things a little bit more clearly to us. Lord, we haven't always been right, even in our own thinking, even if we feel like our circumstances should have been different. Lord, you told us all have sinned and have fallen short of your glory. No matter if we felt like our parents did things that we believe could have been better in our lives or not, it doesn't matter. All of us have sinned, Father, as children and even now as grown adults. We have all let you down, Lord, ultimately of all, as our Father. And Lord, so we just come today, Father. I pray, Lord, for those who have joined the call, that they learn how to grow and heal from their heart, from the absence of their parents, from the absence of their father, from the absence of their mother, right? From some of the things that maybe they didn't get to experience as children. I pray that you heal them, Lord, and give them an understanding, Father, deeper, much deeper than just anything that they can get physically. Help them understand, Lord, no matter how much money that they earn, no matter how high they go in a career, that it still is not going to replace the love of a mother and the love of a father that they may miss. And I also pray, Father, if they have experienced that absence, that they realize that you are there, Lord. You, above anybody else, have always been in their life, by their side, right there, talking to them, being a father when they need one, being a mother when they need one, Lord. I pray that they realize that, Father, that their eyes are open and their heart is open to realizing you have always been there. You have always placed the grandmothers in their life, the grandfathers in their life, the uncles in their life, Father. You've placed them there, right? You've placed the teachers in their life, Lord. The teachers who cared for them as a mother would, right? The janitors, the folks that have supported them through and through, the neighbors, Father. You've placed these people into their life because you were there, Lord. I pray that they realize that that was all according to you and your plan for your glory. And I pray, Father, as they continue to heal, as they continue to grow in understanding their parents, that they obtain balance within their life between both, that they realize that you are the creation of both. You're not more like your mother or your father, but you are like both. Because when both came together and created you, they were both one in the moment. And they created a single being, which is them, which is you, that they can be proud of, Lord, and ultimately you can be proud of. I thank you, Father, for what you have done here today. I love you, and I ask you in Jesus' name, I do pray. Amen. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in and joining. I pray nothing but blessings and peace over your life as you continue to walk with me on this Christian journey. And I'll talk to you next time.